muchachachala. I'm your host. Today I have with me award-winning comedian, actress, writer, producer, puppeteer. This multi-hyphenated content creator extraordinaire defines the word hustle and does it all with two beautiful and intelligent young men by her side. Kylie, turn everybody. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's get started. How have you been keeping busy during this socially distanced time?
So many things. Well, first off, like you mentioned, I have two sons, so they definitely keep me busy. My youngest he'll be 22 months on the 23rd of this month. So he's a toddler. He is rolling into terrible twos with the quickness. That's Brooklyn in the background, people. Yeah, he's really great at this terrible twos things. He's gonna be great. So he keeps me busy. And then I have a 13-year-old who is doing remote learning, which is I don't know, remote learning is just like a whole other beast. So it's like between them, I'm trying to like chase after the almost 2-year-old. I'm trying not to kill the 13-year-old and make sure he's on top of his stuff. And then in between there, I'm trying to create. So it, I stay busy.
Yeah, it sounds like you got a lot on your hands. So, how have you actually been taking care of yourself during this time?
It's so funny because I that is such a journey for me. Like I'm pandemic has made me realize that I really have to do do a much better job of doing self-care, and not so much just like, luxuriating in a bath or something like that, but really, really taking the time for me and for my kids. You know what I mean? Like striking that balance between being a creative and feeling like, oh, I have to make this next thing. I have to make this next thing. I have to get out there. They have to know who I am. You know what I mean? Like, cause the grind is crazy. The grind, the hustle is real. So finding the balance between that, but then also like stopping to smell the flowers, and not getting so caught up that you don't enjoy those moments, whether it's, finding a win within the grind, or, moments at home. I'm a work in progress on that. I'm still figuring that out.
That's good. I hope you find something that works. So I saw that you have started this little like IG live, like once a week thing. What inspired you to start Quarantine, especially like with the character that you use? Like,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that.
That's Onika. I love her. Onika is my puppet. Right? Because we need more BIPOC puppeteers too, right? Sesame, we coming for you. Um, it's funny because me and my friends that do the puppets, Urban Puppets Place, we did a web series prior, and then Dana Verde, the woman that brought us together, she booked and busy. So she moved on to do bigger and greater things, which is great. You know what I mean? And gave us the option to like take the puppets, which was awesome. And I had fallen in love with my puppets. So I was like, yes. And so then with quarantines, like we're all sitting at home, but then in the beginning, remember, it was like the only news was coronavirus, coronavirus, coronavirus. So there was really nothing. It was really for myself. And I'm sure for a lot of other creators too, it was hard to create because what inspiration did you have but the virus and 45? So yeah, it's not much inspiration there. I mean, other than like satirical comedy. So once things kind of slowly started to pick back up, right? Like they started doing the verses, and then Black Lives Matter, like honestly, was a huge impetus. George Floyd, but even many of the people that preceded George Floyd, you know what I mean? Ahmaud Arbery, you know what I mean? Like so many damn names. It's disgusting. But it was like we did news before, and I want to do news, and I want to do news in a way where I don't have to filter myself. And Onika is that. With the puppet, I can say whatever I want to say, and they don't know who's behind this puppet. Nobody knows. I don't have my name on her page, you know what I mean? Because I want it to just be her. And so she is unfiltered. She says what we all want to say, but don't, because we're trying to either be PC or not hurt someone's feelings or whatever. But no, so Onika is that. She's no filter, and she's going to give it to you straight. And she's going to let you know what's going on in the world. And of course, like there's comedy sprinkled within that, right? Because we don't want to just rah at people. Like we want them to we want them to retain some of it. So we do it in a comedic way. But that's how we started Quarantine. And then me and Richard Bird, we were like, hey, like let's IG is popping. IG TV is popping. So let's do it. And now we've actually gone on hiatus only because we're trying to bring Urban Puppets Place to an even bigger platform. So that's the only reason why we've gone on hiatus for right now, because we're working behind the scenes to do some more things with it.
That's exciting. Be on the lookout. We should all be on the lookout.
Yes, please follow the page. You know how y'all do social media.
I read a little bit about some of the works that you've written, and I saw that you had done a stage reading, maybe within the year or a little bit over, of something that you wrote called Indian Country. And I was wondering, like, do you have any plans to put that up soon one day? I mean, given the circumstances, or how's that? What was the process for writing it? And then do you have plans moving forward?
So the process for writing it was honestly, so Indian Country was my first long form narrative, if you will. Right? Because I've written a lot of sketch, I've done a lot of bits and things like that. But so the inspiration for that, I went to see a staged reading of Skeleton Crew by Dominique Morceau, who is amazing. My homegirl Giovanna Mundy, who is also an amazing talent. She was I think she was volunteering for the Lark at the time or something like that. But she had put me on and was like, yo, they doing a stage reading of Dominique Marceau's newest play. Like this ain't even out yet. This is some behind the scenes shit. Like, I don't know if I can swear. Some behind the scenes stuff. So she was like, yo, you want to come? And I was like, yes, I want to come. I happen to be free that night. Yes, I'm there. And so I sat in that audience and watched this masterpiece. The thing that really got me about Skeleton Crew was how slice of life it is. Right? How real world, it's just a slice of life. There's no fantastical, there's no, you know what I mean? Like there's no ekaklima coming out or like, it's just regular Black people with Black people problems living in a white world of like patriarchy, right? And not that those things are like streamlined in the play, like, hey, this is it. Those are some of the things of the impetus of like of the characters' journeys, right? And so when I was watching that, I was like, yeah, I would love to write a Native American story, or I should say a Black Indian story, because I'm a Black Indian, right? I'm Native American, but I'm also Black. And so I wanted to tell a story that was universal because it's about the other, and the other is always universal, right? But I also wanted to tell a story that was unique to my own experiences and that showcased the world that I came up in, right? The same way that Dominique showcases Detroit, because that's the world that she came up in, and she does it in such a beautiful way, right? Like poetic, like this shit is poetic. And I wanted to, in my own little, space in this world, try to create something like that was of my own experiences. And so Indian Country is based on my true story of like growing up as a Black Indian down in Mashpee, being someone who looks the way I look, who doesn't necessarily look like the Hollywood Indian, because that's not because of white supremacy. Really. And how white supremacy also passes the baton to people of color, and we take that baton and we run with it, whether we know it or not. We all have our own instinctive biases, right? That was my truth of growing up down there. It was like I wasn't accepted really as a Native American. And growing up down the Cape, it's a huge Native American population, obviously. 20 minutes from where the Pilgrims landed, the Wampanoags are one of the indigenous clans that met the Pilgrims, freaking John Smith, all that, Pocahontas, not the real story. But these are one of the people, these are one of these people, right? And then I'm Nipmuc, who are their neighbors, and was also another neighboring clan. And growing up, being both of those things, but also being Black, and what it was and how I wanted to dance. I just wanted to dance. I wanted to do this Native American princess competition, and I wanted to dance. And so I signed up for this thing, and my mother told me at the time, you can't do it. And I was like, well, why not? I'm like 12, mind you. I'm like, why not? And she's like, oh, they don't think you're a real Indian. And I'm like, what the, huh? How do they not, like, you're my mom. They know you're my mom. They know Grandma Dottie, because at the time, my grandmother down there, everybody knew her, you know what I mean? And she looked more like the stereotypical native, I guess, if you will. To me, it didn't connect. I couldn't understand it, because it was like, they they know that I'm related to y'all, that I don't understand. And there were plenty, and still are plenty, of Wampanoags who are darker than me, kinkier hair than me. So again, how white supremacy passes that baton, and we take it and we run with it. And so I ain't gonna lie, I wanted to also throw a little shade. If I'm being 100, if I'm keeping it, if I'm keeping it 100, I want to throw a little shade, but I wanted to do it in a way that was just holding a mirror, like, yo, what are y'all doing? And just, put my story out there. And so it's had a few readings. Its first reading was at the National Black Theater Festival, I think in 2015. And that was amazing. I had such an amazing cast, and the story itself has grown so much from there that I've had people tell me, so the last reading that we did, where Portia was the director, and Portia is another brilliant Black woman, actress, director, talent out there, y'all. And she also came up, and I think like in the New York area by like Niagara Falls, and was telling me, her story about the indigenous people up there and how they were fighting with the town because the town was, property, right? Of the whole world, like why wars are started, land and property. And so a lot of people have been like, when they read my play, that they see it visually. And so while I do want to put it up, the next journey for that play is I'm actually going to turn it into a short film. And I want, yeah. So that's the evolution of Indian country, is that I do want to put it up, but the evolution of it is like the next biggest thing is that it's going to be a short film.
That's cool.
It was like the longest answer ever. I'm sorry.
Fine. No, and it was a beautiful answer, and you told so much. No, that's so cool. I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you.
I think it's interesting when we workshop work. Sometimes it starts being, you think it's going to be something, and then you realize, wait, it could be really good if I did it this way. Like, maybe I still want to do it this way, but what if I tried this?
Yeah. And just having like other people's eyes on stuff too, because maybe you've missed things, or maybe they pitch things that you just didn't even think about, and you're like, oh yeah, like that is another way. Because so many people have helped me to workshop this play to where it is right now, and it even still has more growth to go. But like when I look at its first reading to where it is now, and it also had like a huge freaking cast, so I had to chop a lot of them. A lot of them cast members. I had too many characters. But looking at where it is from where it was, like, man, ooh, I put some work in that play. I mean, and it's also years. Like that play is, like I said, I don't even remember what year that staged reading took place. And this is 2020 now. So that play has definitely been years in the making.
Well, that's so cool. I mean, it does take a village to create something big. And I'm a big believer in that. Like, even with my, like the media that I'm using right now, like it truly takes a full team to create something great.
Yes.
You like think it or not. People just really do help you.
Yeah. And you got to have your team. Like, why put all that on yourself? You know what I mean? Like in the beginning I did, because I didn't know any better. You know what I mean? But once you realize like, oh, like you just find other people who also want to do great things and have vision and whatnot. And like you help them out, they help you out. And like, yeah.
Collaboration.
Yep.
So you're a mother of two, and we kind of touched a little bit about it. What's it like juggling like a full-time job, which is being a mother, which I totally like respect, and I totally want to be a mom one day. That's like part of my dream. But
Girl,
also,
take your time. You can borrow mine whenever.
but also alongside like shaping these young minds, you're also like a full-time creative. Like I've seen the list of work that you have, and so I was like, do they ever inspire some of your work? Has it ever happened?
Oh yeah. And they show up in my work a lot, especially my oldest. I mean, and I probably do not give my oldest enough credit. And like, if you could hear me right now, he'd probably be like, yeah, you don't, mom. Like, I probably do not give him enough credit, because that's my little like PA. He really is. He's my PA. He's my writer's assistant, like not in the form of like writing, but in the form of like I wrote a sketch the other day and was like, Dasan, come read this with me, just so I could hear it. Like I need to hear it out loud so I can see what, and then as we're reading, I'm like, oh, I gotta fix that. I gotta So like it's interesting because they show up in my, like, I'm actually the newest thing that I'm working on, both of them are going to be characters in it, or at least fashioned after, right? And so they show up in my work a lot. With my son, with my oldest, whenever he's doing something, like, I try to be as supportive as possible with whatever he wants to do. I'm not gonna lie, I do be trying to be like, well, there's this audition over here, like, because you could, like, I'm telling you, kids are always gonna benefit more from whatever it is, like, the parents are doing. They're gonna benefit more, like, from it in that field, especially like here I am, in this entertainment world. And so if he wanted to do it, it's so, like, most of the projects that he's done has just been because friends are like, oh, hey, I need a kid. Kaili, can I use your kid? I'm like, yeah, sure. And like one of them was like King Esther, a freaking like Emmy nominated series by Dewey Girard. I'm like, yo. Meanwhile, I'm hitting my agents up like, hello, like, how come I'm not getting called in no roles? No, so I just like the balances, or the balance that I try that I try for is to be as supportive to them as they are forgiving to me. If that makes sense. I mean, it's a lot of collaboration, honestly. Like oftentimes with my oldest, I'm like, am I a mom or am I like big sister with responsibilities? I don't know. Like sometimes I can't tell the difference because I'm like, hey, I gotta do this thing and I need you to help me do this thing. And of course I'm always, but then I'm on top of him like, schoolwork, where's your homework? This, that, and the third. But then I, again, because I said I'm a work in progress, trying to find that balance. Like I also just went and spent so much money. I'm like broke now, like on getting them passports because I was like, yo, me and my boys gotta go somewhere. Like we gonna take a COVID trip, please, ancestors, Muhammad, Buddha, whomever. Like, don't let us catch it. Like, but I'm like, yeah, we're gonna go somewhere. I don't care. We're going somewhere, me and my boys, so it can just be us and our little bubble. You know what I mean? So I do try to have those moments as much as possible, and I try to always make it fun. I know if anything, my son probably thinks I'm crazy.
I feel like that's just like mothers and children. We're always gonna think our moms are crazy. It doesn't matter what they do. Love my mom. But yeah, no, you totally deserve to do all those things. So like do it. And I think it's probably like, I don't know, I feel like my dad used to like play music and sometimes be like, okay, come sing because you like to sing. So it's like those little moments are kind of like
Uh,
nice. And I bet your kids are gonna look back on and be like, that was cool. That was cool.
yeah, yeah, like he beat me in life the other day. So we have our small moments too.
So like I guess I don't know. I feel like we've talked a lot, but what have you is there something that you're like working on lately that's gonna come out soon that we should like be on the lookout for?
I feel like something I meant to this ties into both. Something I meant to mention in the last question that you asked me is I'm also like I feel like my brain also works at like I probably have adult ADHD because I feel like my brain probably works at like 130 beats per minute because I love inspiration and I can gather it from anywhere, and then I just have a lot of ideas. Um Not, I don't always follow through on all of them. If I'm keeping 100, but I have a lot of ideas, and so right now, like I said, and I'm not saying it's normal. So I hope people don't normalize this, and there's no right or wrong to this industry and how you create. So no one is better than anybody else. Like if you sitting at home eat nachos, because that's what I did for the whole first 7 months of quarantine. Then there is nothing wrong with it. Like you take care of you how you take care of you, and you create how you create. My brain is just like, I don't know, it's like on crack. So right now, I'm supposed to be finishing up a screenplay because I'm in a screenplay class. So I'm working on that. It's actually what I was working on before this interview. And then I just wrote a Christmas sketch yesterday that we're going to be having a production meeting on tomorrow because we want to film it, obviously before Christmas and whatnot, and put it out. And then my passion project right now that like really has me like really excited is I'm working on a horror thriller. Like Jordan Peele has really created, and Misha Green with Lovecraft Country has really created this new like subgenre of like horror, right? Where white supremacy or racism is the monster. And I love that. So I've, in my own way, so I've taken this indigenous folklore, like I grew up on this urban legend or native folklore called Granny Squannet. And Granny Squannet was like a small person, and she was this woman who was like short and small and had all this like scraggly black hair that wrapped around her face because she only had one eye, and she like took children. So if you were bad, like when we were younger, we were told this, like if you were bad, Granny Squannet, which is adults are frigging like trauma. Talk about PTSD. Like we really, baby boomers really were the worst, right? No, I'm just kidding. Y'all did what y'all could do. But yeah, like they would tell us about like Granny Squannet, and they would reenact her. They would take us on Granny Squannet walks, actually down the Cape. Until COVID, they still did Granny Squannet walks. So this is definitely like a folklore that is, we've come up with, or at least I know it's in Wampanoag and Narragansett culture. And you never know, because folklore, maybe she's called something else in like your culture or something, maybe, because folklore is weird like that. But so I'm writing this like thriller that's both my kids in it, a family, a single mom with two kids, and she, like, her grandmother leaves her the house back home, and so they have to move back home. And I don't want to give too much away, but Granny Squannet is gonna be snatching some kids and stuff, and it's almost like a mix of like Stranger Things, Lovecraft Country, because I love Stranger Things too, and I also want to write something with teens. So
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, to close us off, what advice would you give yourself at 18?
don't get so caught up that you don't enjoy it, like that you don't enjoy the ride while you're on it, because you can miss so much. You know what I mean? Like you really can. Yeah, once it's over, it's over, So when you're having those high moments, like take the time to enjoy it. And you know what I mean? And even when you're working towards those high moments, like understand that it's a journey, not a destination. Like this field is a journey, not a destination, and just to enjoy those moments while you're in it and not be so busy about, okay, well, I know maybe I'm in this room, but I gotta network and I gotta meet every single person. Like just be authentically you and just let it come. Like it's gonna come how it comes, and you gotta just accept it either way. So that would be my biggest piece of advice for myself and anybody else in this business. Like, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being with me here today. It was lovely talking to you. I hope you had a good time.
Thank you. I did.
Awesome. And everybody, be on the lookout. Follow her. Shout out the Instagram for Onika.
So Onika is I am Queen Onika, Onika, like Nicki Minaj Onika, but a puppet.
And on that note, we are out.